Well, hello, and welcome back to another podcast episode with Brittney Bundles. You are listening to the Brittney Bundles podcast, where we empower people through entrepreneurship. And today's podcast, I'm going to try and wrap it up a lot sooner than I typically do, just because I am outside. I'm actually in my car, and I did not... I don't have a lot of time today to do the podcast, but I still know that it's really important that I come on here and share this message. I have been promoting my new service, which is credit repair. And so I've been busy on that side. So if you are interested in repairing your credit, business and credit, they work together as a whole. There are people that are interested in business funding. And I don't think that people realize that a lot of commercial lenders also look at your personal credit when they are looking to make a decision for your loan application. So if you're interested in getting your credit together, be sure to reach out to me. You can go to my website at keepingupwithbrittney.com or badchickhair.com. And then you can also email me for more information at btalks, TALKS, @yahoo.com. I'm going to ask that you all share the podcast like I do in every episode. Share it with a family member or friend. Turn it up when you're riding in the car. Share it via social media, text message. Just become creative and let's spread the word about what we're doing over here. I'll give you a moment to do that and I'll be right back with you. All right. So I am back, and today we're talking about leadership. So recently I started reading a book by John C. Maxwell, and it's titled The 5 Levels of Leadership. And this book is so influential because it really breaks down what leadership is and what you need to acquire in order to become the best leader that you possibly can be. A lot of times we get so fixated on numbers or fixated on specific titles, and we really forget about the action steps. And if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that I frequently say I'm not driven only by numbers. I'm not driven only by a title. You really won't hear me referring to myself as a boss, and that's because, again, I'm not really driven by titles. I more so want to focus on the action steps, building relationships, and driving off the value that I offer. So, this book talks a lot about some key points that are referenced to building businesses the ethical way and building yourself as a leader with integrity. The first point that I want to talk about is this book, okay, like I mentioned before. So this book goes over, and I'm going to go ahead and grab it because it's sitting right by me. This book goes over the 5 levels of leadership. And I may even post a picture if I haven't already on my social media so you all can see as a reference. Just go to Brittney Bundles on Facebook or Brittney_Bundles on Instagram. And I may have that posted for you. But the first level is position. And the position goes over the fact that people follow you because they have to. So for example, if you're an owner, like I was owning my salon, people followed me pretty much because they had to, right? I was the owner. I facilitated what was going on. Also, I hired a manager. So people followed the manager because she was in position as well. Nothing wrong with being in position, but that is the first level. Second level is people follow you because they want to. So I look at that as like on Instagram or like on YouTube or the people that have drop shipped through me for years. People follow because they want to, right? So that's the second level. And position, the first level goes to rights. Permission goes to relationships. And then the third level is production, so results. So people follow you because of what you've done for the organization. So a lot of times people hear by word of mouth the work that I've done with other people. I typically share different text messages and emails that I get from people thanking me. I recently got a text message yesterday where someone that I consulted with reached out and said, thank you for believing in me. And so people, she also mentioned that she was able to gain 5 email subscribers for marketing purposes with her email mailing list. And so seeing the results Production also is a level of leadership. That's the third level. And then the fourth level is people development. So reproduction. People follow you because of what you've done for them. So I can piggyback off of the last example. What have you done for people? Those are some of the thoughts that you want to think about. How have you increased someone's level of living, level of earning? How have you instilled value back into them? And then the fifth level is pinnacle, respect. People follow you because of who you are and what you represent. And like I've mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, integrity, how you interact each day, what you do, even when no one's looking. All of those are, attributes to gaining momentum in rising up the level of, or climbing up the level of leadership, the levels of leadership, I should say. So those are the levels that this book goes over. And it really does a great job with breaking down the different levels, going into greater detail, and then also giving you self-assessments and also assessments for people that are in your team, to be able to determine what level you're on and what you can do to move up to the next one. So the next point that I want to touch on is what I would change. So reading this book had me thinking a lot about my experience working in the salon. And although there were a lot of good things that I did in the salon, I always look for room for improvement. What could I have done better? And reading this book, it really helps me understand that I could have been more personable with the people that worked in the salon. So getting to know them on a more intimate level. And because I was so booked, I was doing so much each day, trying to expand the salon, trying to be the best mom I could be, trying to take care of my house, my dogs. I had a lot of dogs at that point. And so it was a lot. It was a lot on my schedule. And so I mentioned in that video when I talked about some of the discouraging factors that led me to getting out of the salon industry on my YouTube channel. The video is titled "Owning a Salon is Not What I Expected," or something along those lines. I talked about a lot of things that I experienced. And one of the things that I can say is that although I was there and I communicated with people on a personal level, I can admit that I didn't have the time required and necessary to maximize meeting with each individual person that worked at the salon to see exactly what they were going through, what they needed, even on a personal level, right? Because a lot of times we look to professionalism as sticking to the script. So not even wondering or diving too deep into people's personal lives. I made a podcast episode a while back going over the fact that it's really hard to separate someone's personal life from business. Although we're trained to do that, if you're not feeling the best in your personal life, more than likely you're not going to show up being the best for business either. And so this book also goes over some ways that you can become closer and build relationships with people that are working with you. And so that you can not only show them what to do, by way of your leadership or tell them what to do, but you can see what's the best option for them based on what they're going through and what they're looking to achieve. It also goes over different training, constant training for people that you're working with. So what type of training material are you implementing? What type of courses are you implementing? Because the goal is to constantly have the people that you're working with developed so that they could pretty much run your position on the same level or even better than you do. So reading this book really has me looking back on some of the things that I could have done differently. Time really stands out to me. Deepening the connection with relationships stands out to me. Being able to even take assessments and get into the mind of how the people that worked with me felt. A lot of times we would have group meetings. However, it was still in a setting where there were, it was a meeting. So a lot of people were around and not everyone feels comfortable being completely honest in that type of setting. So doing some anonymous surveys would have been good as well. The next thing that I want to touch on in reference to leadership is relationships. So I'm learning even in this book that relationships are a priority. I've always been someone that wanted to build upon relationships. Again, I'm not a numbers person only. Of course, I have goals. Of course, I have metrics. Of course, I have production results that I use to sell my services, right? Because I want people to know that, hey, what I am offering, I have experience in. This has worked for other people. And that goes back to me sharing some of those text messages that I get from customers and clients and some of those emails and experiences. But relationships are super important, because without relationships, you're not able to really get a deep understanding for what that individual needs. And everyone needs something different. You can have a lot of people working in the salon, and their goal could be to get X amount of clients this month, but people are still going to need different resources and different attention levels and different training in order to make sure that they're reaching their best potential. And so relationships, even if we're looking at online businesses, they have really helped me grow my business, because I'm not looking at people as just a number. I'm looking at people as people, and it's helping me build relationships where people are comfortable coming back and sharing their experiences. People are comfortable coming back and purchasing more services. People are comfortable coming back and purchasing more products, and also sharing with their friends and family the experience that they had working with me. So that is something that I want to reiterate as well. I talk a lot about relationships and the importance, and there are some people that get it and some people that don't, but it's really important to not look at your business as just how many sales can I get, but really how much value can I instill into people. Because honestly, there are people that bought hair extensions from me years ago, and I can pretty much guarantee that they don't remember the exact length, or they may not remember the exact length or even the exact texture that they purchased. And I'm saying that because some people reach back out and they ask me, what did I purchase a few years from you? Do you remember what I got a few years ago? And I can look up in my system and see. But the point is, they may not remember exactly what they ordered, but they remember how they were treated. They remember if they liked the product or not. They remember if they liked the customer service or not. So it's really important to keep relationships at the forefront. The next thing that I want to go over is goal setting. So although I'm not a numbers person, I don't want that to be an excuse or a crutch as to not, or a reason why you should not aim for certain goals, right? Because in order to make sure that you're growing, you have to measure that by some way. So I can build as many relationships as possible, but if I don't have a metric or a system in place where I'm measuring my growth, how am I really knowing if what I'm doing is benefiting anyone? And I'm not saying, again, rely solely on numbers, but I am saying that numbers are important in terms of looking at our growth and helping us reach goals. So what type of systems, and I'm just asking you all to get you thinking, do you have in place that are going to help your business and your clients move to the next area? Okay, so what I do is I make my monthly goals before the year even starts. I have a goal of what I'm aiming for each month, and then I can break that goal down into smaller goals. So each week, each day, and then I have an overall goal as well, what I'm looking to achieve this first quarter, second quarter, and so on. I'm also looking at what I'm looking at achieving, or what I'm aiming at achieving for the entire year. For profit. And so all of these things can work together if we're looking at the overall picture and not just focused on one specific portion. The last thing that I want to go over is continue educating yourself. This book, and also the book that I read right before this by the same author, and what was the name of that book? The name of the book was 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And in that book, it referenced how it's important to not stop educating yourself. And it referenced that in this book as well. A lot of times when you become labeled as an expert, or when you become very skilled, or when you have put some time into a specific area of expertise, that can allow us to get lazy. You may think that you already know most of the things people are going to ask you. You may start to anticipate some of the issues that some of your clients or customers may experience based on what has happened in the past. You may start to be able to think of a lot of helpful information and push out books and training courses and ebooks, but that doesn't give us an excuse to stop learning. There's always more to learn. And honestly, if we stop learning, it's doing a disservice to the people that are following us, the people that we're leading, because we want to continuously grow. I was talking to my friend I believe it was last week, a few days ago. And she was talking about how she didn't want to work anymore. She didn't want to work. She didn't want a 9-to-5 job. And I can understand that. You know, one of the reasons that I decided to start my business is because I wanted more freedom and flexibility with my time, right? But one of the things that I always have liked about working is working in a lot of places that I've worked, they have a lot of different training courses and classes in regards to sales. Now, some are better than others. However, I really find it intriguing to learn different concepts and different principles and different ways on how to attract customers, how to maintain the relationships with customers, and also how to grow. So it's always been interesting to me. And then also meeting new people. I enjoy meeting new people, whether it's on the workforce, whether it's through my business, whether it's at the grocery store. But I was shy. So I would want to meet new people, but I would be so shy to actually go over that hurdle and meet new people. And so overcoming some of our fears are necessary as well. I want to put that out there, and achieving our ultimate goals. And I've talked about that as well. But she mentioned that she didn't want to do her, 9-to-5 job, and she wanted to sit at home all day and eat seafood. And we kind of laughed. And I say, wow, that's a great analogy of what a lot of people think entrepreneurship is, right? They think that you stop working and you start getting orders, and you're able to sit back and eat as much fast food as you want and go shopping whenever you want. And you just have this endless amount of money coming in, and you're able to do whatever you want with your time. And although there are some people that are at that level that have a great substantial amount of income coming in, and they're able to do whatever they want to do, right? It's still important that we don't get wrapped up in that lifestyle to the point that we get too comfortable to continue to learn. So even if you're working your 9-to-5, and this is what I told her, you make the most of it. Wake up every day with the attitude of, I'm going to get the most out of this day. Write down at least 5 things that you're wanting to learn that day, whether it's for business or not, but just so that you're constantly learning, because there's a fine line between business and personal. Learn as much as you can so that you can help and give back as much as you can. Sitting back and just eating seafood all day while you're getting endless amount of money, that can really be a fantasy. For a lot of entrepreneurs, it's not that. Even entrepreneurs that are getting lots and lots of sales, it's not just sitting back doing nothing. There's time and there's effort that goes into running a business and actually keeping the business going. And people don't really like to talk about the ins and outs of that. People mainly talk about the successes, and sometimes the successes are dolled up, so they're not even what they're looking like they are. And so I really appreciate the opportunity that I have to talk to other people that are wanting to get into business, that are wanting to free their time, and share with them some of my experiences, because I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, and some entrepreneurs on social media look like they're the next billionaire. In reality, they're not. And again, it's not just about the numbers, but if I can have people fill themselves with the knowledge and integrity and value system that is needed to build relationships that are needed to build their business, then a lot of people wouldn't feel the need to even get on social media in front, I believe, about how much they're making, because they would see the value in what they're doing and focus more on that. And that produces the results for the monetary gain. So when you're doing the right action steps, that allows you to be able to receive the reward for doing it. So I wanted to come on here and point that out, going over some tips on leadership. We went over my book reference, which is The 5 Levels of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. Even if you don't have a brick and mortar location, even if you're not like a manager or planning on becoming or stepping into a leadership position, I recommend that you read it, just because it lets you know it gives you an outline of some good leadership tips. And even, like I said, even if you're not leading a corporation or a brick and mortar business, there are still areas in your life that you may need to step into a leadership role in. And this is a great guide to assist with that. Also, think back when you're thinking about leadership, after you have researched more on leadership, even if you decide to get this book. This is not sponsored, by the way. Take a look and think about some things that you would change. What are some things that you would do differently with your leadership style? What are some things that you want to implement going forward with your leadership style? And then relationships. How much are you valuing relationships? Are you looking at people as just numbers? Are you looking at people as only customers? Or are you looking at people as people? And then goal setting. What goals are you setting for yourself? What milestones are you wanting to reach? And what are you wanting to reach in order to help others? What goals do you have for the individuals that are following you? What goals do you have for everyone that comes into contact with you? I want to make sure that I'm empowering everyone that I can. Now, With that being said, we've talked about this in some other podcast episodes too. Not everyone is going to be your target audience, and not everyone's going to believe what you're saying or care what you're saying or even take heed to what you're saying. But as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, again, going back to doing the action steps, I truly believe that you'll receive the results based on the seeds that you're planting. And then continuously educating ourselves. How are we growing? It's really important to make sure that the conversations that we're having each day too are stimulating to us. There are some people that are literally having conversations all day that stimulate them very little or not at all. You know, they're talking about things that really they don't want to talk about, but they don't want to be rude. I've been in those positions too, where you're listening to someone go on and you don't want to be rude. And I'm not saying that there's not a time and a place to be supportive. However, I am saying that you also want to make sure that you're protecting your peace. You also want to make sure that you're protecting your mind. What you put in your mind, what you entertain is very, very important, especially if you're not completely guarded and protected under the blood of Jesus. I'm just being completely honest. You have to be very careful of what you allow to consume your mind, what you allow to consume your heart. Some of us have put our businesses and people in the place of God. Some of us have made idols out of money and out of materialistic things. So it's important just to get back to the basics and to hone back in and to make sure that we're growing, not just in our business, but mentally, spiritually, and physically as well, you know, with our health. I've incorporated making sure that I'm walking more. And I went over that in my latest vlog on YouTube. It's under Brittney Bundles. So I really hope that this podcast episode touched someone out there. Like I say in every episode, I don't want this to end. If you have any questions or if you'd like to be a guest on the Brittney Bundles podcast, please email me at btalks. That's the letter B, TALKS at yahoo.com. You can also visit me on Instagram at Brittney_bundles. That is Brittney, BRITTNEY_bundles, BUNDLES. I'm on YouTube Brittney Bundles and Facebook Brittney Bundles. I also started a new service for credit repair. So if you're interested in repairing your credit, feel free to shoot me a text at 269-888-6600 and just type in credit and I'll send you more information. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you all in the next podcast episode.